Welcome back to the Airborne Lawyer YouTube channel and to episode 5 of our adventure around the world in a TBM 930. Today we find ourselves in Toronto. We're at the Billy Bishop City Airport in downtown Toronto, just on Toronto Islands over there. We make a nice early start and we are getting ahead today just across Lake Ontario down to Niagara Falls to take a look at the falls over there, and then we're going to head west to Chicago Executive Airport, and we'll take a look at Chicago when we get there as well. So we'll get the plane all set up in the usual way and get everything switched on. Just going to get the engine started, check all the warning lights are functioning, turn on the sat-nav. And I'll get the autopilot configured as well. We're not going to go up very high today. Well, we will go up high between Niagara Falls and Chicago, but Niagara Falls is no distance away from Toronto really, so we're just going to go up to about 4,000 or 5,000 feet, something like that. The weather in Niagara doesn't look that good. It's quite snowy and a little bit misty over there, and the cloud is very low. But we will be able to see the falls. There'll just be a bit of winter drama to the shots we take around there, I guess. The weather in Chicago, meanwhile, is pretty clear, but it is meant to be very windy. But then again, they don't call it the Windy City for nothing. Again, I am flying this on VATSIM, and I'm just entering in Toronto Centre into my radio here because Toronto Centre is online, and I will be calling them shortly. Now, it's an interesting one. This is a first for me. I'm actually going to be requesting an IFR clearance in mid-air from Niagara over to Chicago. I will be flying VFR to Niagara, so I'm just going to request a south departure VFR, and then once we are leaving Niagara, I'm going to call Toronto Centre again and request an IFR clearance over to Chicago Executive. Again, something I'm really enjoying about this series is going to lots of different airports, lots of smaller airports that I can't really normally fly to. Toronto City is one. It's such a small airport, you can't really get big jet planes in here. Chicago Executive is another. I've never flown into a Chicago Executive before. Okay, so we'll just check the flight controls all working. Rudders, yeah. Give the inert step a quick blast. Okay, let's go. So I checked the weather ahead of this flight, and we've got a pretty solid wind coming from the east, so we're taking off from runway 08 this morning, and that's good because we will be able to get some really good views of Toronto downtown on our way out. We'll be taking off to the east, and then we'll be turning right and heading south over Niagara, over to Niagara across the short stretch of Lake Ontario. Now, I'm not going to be time-lapsing the flight over to Niagara, one because it's very, very short, but I will be time-lapsing the flight over to Chicago. In the meantime, I will regale you with some interesting facts about Niagara Falls as we head over that way. I mentioned on my last video that I was at the University of Toronto for a year back in 2004, and I therefore visited Niagara Falls many times. Anytime someone from the UK came over to Canada to visit whilst I was in Toronto, Niagara Falls was sure to be on the agenda, so I had several trips to Niagara. It's a very short trip. You can do it in a day from Toronto. It's even quicker, of course, than a TBM 930. So it'll be really interesting to see what the falls look like. And there is the Toronto controller asking me to call him. So give me a moment and I'll get all that set up.
Oral warning, okay.
Toronto Centre, good morning. Golf Tango Echo Whiskey Alpha is type TBM 930 on the ground at the City Airport, altimeter 3015, requesting VFR departure to the south.
Juliet Tango Echo Whiskey Alpha, Toronto Centre, hello, check VFR to Niagara Falls, runway 08 news, squawk 1201.
Okay, cleared to the south, cleared for a south departure VFR, squawking 1201, and we'll be taking off from runway 08, Golf Whiskey Alpha.
Echo Whiskey Alpha, Rebecca is correct, report fully ready.
Toronto Centre, Golf Whiskey Alpha, we are fully ready. We're ready for departure.
Golf Tango Echo Whiskey Alpha, after departure, proceed on course at or below 1,500 feet initially, winds 030 degrees 8 knots, cleared for takeoff 08.
Clear for takeoff, initial climb not exceeding 1,500 feet, Golf Whiskey Alpha.
And after departure, proceed on course.
Proceed on course after departure, Golf Whiskey Alpha.
Apollon 119, no further ATCs available, Boston is offline, radar service terminated, monitor Unicom 122.8 today.
Monitor Unicom 122.8, thank you, bye bye, Apollon 119.
Bye bye.
Air Canada 163 is ready to go 06 left.
Air Canada 163, winds 0 degrees, 10 knots, cleared for takeoff 6 left.
Takeoff 6, Lever Canada 163.
Good morning, it's Air Canada 910, heavy gate 167 PC 052 Alpha with hotel.
Air Canada 910, read the correct, pushback and startup is at on discussion, call ready for taxi.
Call taxi, Air Canada 910, thanks.
Okay, here we go. Slightly messed up my ready for departure announcement back there. I almost said the dreaded T word, so if you're not aware, only aircraft who have been cleared for takeoff should say the word takeoff. If you're ready to take off, you have to say ready for departure. It's a sacrosanct law in air traffic control, but it's one that I can frequently come close to forgetting. There's downtown Toronto, so we bid farewell to this great city as we continue our world tour. And once we've got the autopilot engaged, we'll start heading south across Lake Ontario. You might have heard the air traffic controller asked that we climb initially only to 1,500 feet, and once he's identified us on radar, we will likely get cleared a little bit higher, but we don't need to go up very high anyway. And the clouds are quite low, so if we go up too high we won't see very much. Right, let's turn to the south. Nice view of Toronto Islands here as we leave.
Echo Whiskey Alpha, report passing altitude.
Golf Whiskey Alpha, we are passing through 1,400 feet.
Echo Whiskey Alpha, Toronto Centre, you are identified, you are cleared through the Pearson Class Charlie airspace, climb 4,000, proceed on course.
Clear through the Pearson airspace and climb to 4,000, Golf Echo Whiskey Alpha.
Toronto Centre 47, Hotel 320 bound north.
JetBlue 47, Toronto Centre low, squawk 0530.
Say again?
JetBlue 487, Centre low, squawk 0530.
0530, just hold.
Jet Blue 487, Toronto Center, you are identified. Air Canada 163, report passing altitude.
Currently passing 3,400 feet, Air Canada 163.
Air Canada 163, Toronto Center identified, left turn direct. Ketsi on course, climb flight level 230.
Left turn, direct, gets on course, climb level 230, Air Canada 163.
Shamrock 9002, no Faraday ATC is available. Boston is offline, radar service terminated. Unicom 1228, good day.
Switching over Unicom 122, decimal 8, Shamrock 9002, thank you, goodbye.
Goodbye, United 1976, no Faraday ATC available. You're leaving my space to the west. Cleveland Center is offline, radar service terminated. Unicom 228, good day.
822-8, 1976, thanks for help.
Good day.
Seems pretty busy on the air traffic control today.
Echo Whiskey Alpha, Toronto.
Echo Whiskey Alpha, go ahead.
Echo Whiskey Alpha, would you like to continue with flight following or go on to Unicom when you leave the class Charlie?
I will stick with the flight following, if that's okay. We're actually thinking we'll fly back to Toronto very shortly and pick up an IFR clearance over to Chicago Executive.
Copy that, so let me know and for flight following, Roger.
Toronto 7, good morning. Jet 292, IFR Heathrow.
Jet 292, Toronto Center, hello, are you ready to copy clearance?
Yeah, we're ready to copy 292.
You're clear to destination Heathrow, Verde Verdo 6 departure, Lorca transition, flight time round. Depart runway 6 left, walk 0507.
Very clear to Heathrow, Verdo 6 Lorca, and depart 6 left, 0507 on the box, and Georgia 290. We take runway 5.
Exit 292, Roger, so 05, rest of the clearance balance is unchanged. Repeat is correct, pushback and start up is a tone discussion and call ready for taxi.
Sorry, runway 5, thank you very much for that, and vector clearance is unchanged, we'll call you in the base 98.
So you can see it's a pretty short hop here across Lake Ontario over towards Niagara. You can just start to see the waterway which heads towards the falls, or in fact heads away from the falls. The water is coming in this direction, so to speak. Niagara on the lake will be down there. I seem to recall there's an old fort down there.
And Echo Whiskey Alpha for flight following St. Catharines, altimeter 3009.
Say again, sorry, Echo Whiskey Alpha.
Echo Whiskey Alpha for flight following St. Catharines, altimeter 3009.
Roger, altimeter is at 3009.
November 744 Sierra Delta, you are leaving my airspace to the west. Cleveland is offline, radar service terminated. Unicom 122.8, good day.
Contact Unicom on 122.8, November 4 Sierra Delta, good day.
KLM 86 Heavy, same for you, no Faraday ATC is available. Montreal is offline, leaving my airspace to the east. Unicom 122.8, have a safe flight.
Unicom 122.8, KLM 86, thanks for the service, bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, so we're just going to be coming over Niagara on the lake down here in a moment, and then this river will lead up to the falls. But visibility seems to be deteriorating a bit, so we might have to lower the old altitude at some point.
So, Juliet Tango Echo Whiskey Alpha, just watch for the Toronto Cleveland border. You have 8 miles from leaving my airspace, so just if you cannot pass the 8 miles, if you want to stay in my airspace, then let me know when you're ready to copy your clearance.
Roger, we'll call you back shortly. Echo Whiskey Alpha.
And just make sure you will stay, you are 7 nautical miles from the border.
Roger, we'll keep an eye on that, thank you. This is tricky. This is really hard. I always find it quite difficult figuring out what a mile looks like when I'm flying like this. I'm just going to set up a radio beacon if I can to try and give myself some sense of where I am. But I think the easiest thing will be to avoid crossing the border into Cleveland. I think the easiest thing will be to just hang a right down here and make sure I stay in Canadian airspace. It's actually the state of New York, I think, the other side here, but it's Cleveland Center from an air traffic control perspective. Well, the visibility really is deteriorating now. Here we are at 2,000 feet. I think we might have to go even lower than this. Just want to follow this river up a little bit further.
Canada 163, climb flight level 340.
Flight level 340 over Canada 163.
Toronto Center, Edgewood Jet 292, we're out of short Juliet Delta Equal, here ready to taxi, listening formation, hotel.
ExtraJet 292 Toronto Center, runway 05, altimeter 30128 Hotel, taxi via Juliet Delta and Juliet, control 05.
05 Juliet Delta, Juliet, Extra Jet.
And please report fully ready, Juliet.
We will be fully ready on the taxi.
But no, just let me know when you're fully ready.
Can still just see the water down there, and that's what I want to follow. So what I'm going to do very, very shortly, the latest point before I leave Canadian airspace, is turn right to keep myself in Canada, and then I'm going to get the drone out and fly over to Niagara Falls. It's quite a manoeuvre, and I'm doing this live, so please bear with me if I get this wrong. It's been so busy on the air traffic control that I haven't been able to regale you with facts yet about Niagara Falls. What I can tell you is there's actually 3 falls at Niagara. They're collectively known as Niagara Falls. There's American Falls on the US side, there's the Bridal Veil Falls, and then the Horseshoe Falls. The Horseshoe Falls are probably the most famous. I say probably, they are most definitely the really famous ones. They're the ones you see on the postcards. They were formed about 12,000 years ago during the last ice age. They recede at a rate of about 1 foot per year due to the erosion impact of the water. Although that may reduce, because apparently they're diverting a lot of the water now into hydroelectric power, so it can slow up the flow at certain times of day. But that erosion impact makes sense when you think that apparently 700,000 gallons of water per second pour over Niagara Falls at about 25 miles an hour. Now that makes Niagara Falls the largest waterfall, or the largest falls in North America by volume and width, not by height. The tallest waterfall in North America is Yosemite Falls, which tops out at 2,425 feet. But Niagara Falls are sufficiently spectacular to attract 8 million visitors every year from all over the world. Because of all of those visitors, that does mean that much of Niagara is made up of hotels and tourist attractions. Right, here goes. Let's get the drone out. Let's go and see the falls. There's the Horseshoe Falls. There's a whole load of hotels over there. I've stayed in one of them. There's the viewing tower, which you can go up. That's the Canadian side over there. And then there's the US crossing. You can see a stump of a bridge. That's a viewing point for visitors in the US so that they can see the Horseshoe Falls without having to cross the border. There we go. Niagara Falls, everybody. On to Chicago next. I'll be quieter from here. We'll be climbing up eventually to 30,000 feet once we've got our clearance and heading off to Chicago Executive. Enjoy the flight. Centre, Golf Tango Echo Whiskey Alpha, requesting my clearance please to Chicago Executive.
Echo Whiskey Alpha, stand by, I will contact number 1.
Echo Whiskey Alpha.
Tango Whiskey Alpha, you're ready to copy IFR?
Ready to copy IFR, Golf, Echo Whiskey Alpha.
Echo Whiskey Alpha, you're clear to destination Chicago Executive from present position. Proceed direct Chicago Executive, climb 4,000 and your squawk will be 0543.
Roger, cleared IFR to Kilo Papa Whiskey Kilo, Chicago Executive. From present position, proceed direct to Kilo Papa Whiskey Kilo, climbing to 4,000 and squawking 0543. Echo Whiskey Alpha.
Echo Whiskey Alpha, repeating code.
welcome to Chicago, everybody. They call it the Windy City, and it's certainly been a bit blustery on our approach into Chicago. So, just off to the right-hand side here is a peninsula, which was once the home of Meigs Field, which was a small executive airport in Chicago until 2003. There's a bit of a story about how the runway was torn up on the orders of Richard M. Daley, the Chicago mayor at the time. He sent in bulldozers overnight without notice in violation of Federal Aviation Administration regulations, and got in some trouble about it. It was a bit of a fiasco, I gather. And there's lots of pictures of these bulldozers literally tearing up the runway. I also just brought us in over Meigs Field there because that was the starting point for Flight Simulator for many, many years. So you'd open up Flight Sim and you'd find yourself on runway 36 at Meigs Field. So I'm a bit sentimental about that. Bit of a pity that the airport isn't there anymore. Although I am very alive to the fact that airports are not good from an environmental standpoint. I'm sure having a city park on that peninsula is a better thing in the long run. Some spectacular views here of Chicago. Sears Tower, once the tallest building in the world. Even some shipping in Lake Michigan, would you believe? Okay, I'm just going to speed this up a little bit now, because it turns out that Chicago Executive is quite a long way out from Chicago downtown. There's not much traffic about. I doubt I'd be able to do this manoeuvre in real life because I'm cutting right across where aircraft would come in for final approach on the westbound runways at Chicago O'Hare. But thankfully it's pretty quiet on VATSIM right now. There is, however, another aircraft on the ground at Chicago Executive. I think he's holding short at runway 16, so I need to look out for him. I'm just on downwind now and just listening out for him to announce his intentions.
Midway traffic southwest 2702, holding short runway 30, center.
He's just waiting there, isn't he, to pull onto the runway.
You can get off quickly, I'm still 5 miles out.
Alrighty, we're off 2702, see you later.
Chicago Executive, Citation 4, Hotel Mike, takeoff runway 16. We'll be departing to the north, Chicago Executive.
Perfect, that tells me all I need to know. Right, I'm going to turn base and do quite a short final approach in here to runway 16. I'll bring it down really quite low and do a quick landing. Chicago Executive traffic, Golf Tango Echo Whiskey Alpha type TBM 930, turning left base for ILS runway 16. Chicago Executive. Possibly now a lot lower than I'd planned to descend to. Feels like we're about to start scraping some trees here. This ground is clearly slightly more elevated than I thought. Because we're at 1,000 feet, but we are really low. Oh well, makes it fun. And Chicago Executive, Golf Tango Echo Whiskey Alpha, now turning finals, runway 16.
Alright, midway traffic southwest 2702, clear of runways.
Fortunately went through the localizer there. The base leg was slightly too long, but it's all right. We can correct this. Probably just giving the houses below us a bit of a fright, given just how low we're coming in here. And Chicago Executive, Golf Tango Echo Whiskey Alpha, now short final, runway 16. Chicago Executive. So I hope you've enjoyed the flight today. from Toronto to Chicago via Niagara Falls. If you have, please do click subscribe, please click like. You'll get advance notice when I upload future videos, and we'll be continuing our world tour next by flying off to New York. We're flying into Teesboro Executive, just this side of New York, and that's going to be our next flight here on the Airborne Lawyer YouTube channel. So look out for that one. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again soon. There I was, all ready to wrap up the video, and I just have to point out another vehicle on a runway. I don't quite understand why this happens so much, but whilst Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 is amazing, there are so many vehicles in the wrong places. The number of times I come across vans driving up runways, crazy. Chicago Executive, Golf Tango Echo Whiskey Alpha, we have now vacated runway 16, Chicago Executive. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time when we fly to New York.